Perfect. So first and foremost, I want to thank everyone for joining us today. Definitely taking the time out of your busy schedules, your day-to-day operations. So it is definitely a pleasure to have you. Again, just to be a part of being able to educate ourselves more, be pioneers in this space, and again, to kind of promote that change that we want to see. So again, thank you and welcome to the Inclusive Leadership presentation. So inspiring change and driving success. There we go. So a little overview of what we're going to be speaking about today. So for some of you, you're either a client or a partner. So we're just going to do a little overview of Goodwill, what it is, touch on the EIA program. Then we'll talk about first-person language, leading versus managing, hop into diversity and inclusion, and then some of the stages of inclusive leadership. Then we'll touch a little bit on unconscious bias, why is it important, and tips to kind of boost inclusive leadership. So we'll cover a few things today, and at any time you have a question or a comment, feel free to just kind of put that in the chat there, and then we'll kind of get to, I think, the questions at the end of the presentation. All right. Okay. So first thing I want to ask is, what is Goodwill? Okay, so predominantly I find that the majority of people will say that Goodwill is a donation center, right? So people bring in their gently used goods and give it to Goodwill, where we'll sell it, which is not entirely incorrect. However, Goodwill, the donation centers are actually just a small piece to a much larger puzzle. So Goodwill Industries Alberta is a local nonprofit that strengthens communities through the donations of gently used goods. And with that, we kind of support people with disabilities, and we're committed to sustainability. Now, again, so the way that it works is, I believe that 91 cents of every dollar that is sold in our donation centers is used to kind of fund a lot of our initiatives and programs, which we'll kind of speak on a little bit in the next slide. But again, everything that we kind of bring in and that we sell kind of generates income for some of our programs. So if you kind of take a look at the diagram here, we'll see like it always kind of comes full circle with that. So again, so people will bring in their donations, we sell the items, and again, because we are committed to sustainability and recycling, we try to use as much as we can, and so therefore we kind of go into the proceeds that kind of help advocate for people with disabilities. We kind of train them, give them those soft skills, and help them to find meaningful employment, and again kind of put them out in the community so that they're able to kind of display some of the things that they've learned, and also to show the community that, hey, like they are more than capable of doing the work, excuse me. So next, so Goodwill social impact and initiative. So again, so these are some of the programs that are funded by our donation center. So as some of you are familiar with, first we have the Employer Inclusion Accelerator program, the EIA, which is us. Then we have the Opportunity Accelerator program and the PDD. So essentially the minor difference, if I can try and keep it basic between the two, is the Opportunity Accelerator is more of a short-term program which supports people with disabilities, as opposed to the PDD, which is a more longer-term support program. Next, we have the Volunteer Hub, which is located at our Edmonton office on White Ave. So essentially, some of our clients will kind of come in, and again, we kind of teach them some soft skills. They'll sort through some bins, and again, trying to build themselves up. The next one that we have that runs out of the Edmonton Impact Center is the You Can Ride Too, which is where we believe that every child should be given the opportunity to experience the joys of riding a bike. So essentially what happens is we get donations of bikes, or families might bring bikes in, and we kind of modify them so that, again, a child with a disability is able to enjoy that same experience. So next we have the Impact Center. So we do have one in Edmonton and one in Calgary that actually just opened up, but the Impact Center is almost like the central hub for our commitment to sustainability. So a lot of our strategies and practices come out of there, but as well too, we employ a lot of our individuals in the Impact Center. So there we do a lot of collaborations and with other agencies, and then some of our individuals are there again gaining skill sets, building up themselves, and contributing in that fashion. Last but not least, we have the Repair for Good, and that program is we kind of take in whatever furniture items that have been donated to us that people might deem not in good condition. What we kind of do is we kind of spruce it up. So if we get a table in, we kind of repaint it, refurbish it, and then we resell it as pretty much brand new. And a lot of good, cool ideas kind of come out of that. So that one's a really interesting one as well too. Okay, so again, for the majority of you, you know about the EIA program, so the Employer Inclusion Accelerator program. So the idea behind this program is Goodwill was generally used to really servicing the client, right? Whatever they needed, how can we help, or what kind of support that we can provide for them. And then this is almost like a 180 where we're trying to now help the employer view it from the other side of that, so that we're able to not only give the employer the tools in order to make a more inclusive workplace or environment, but again, have them be able to teach others. So Goodwill's Employer Inclusion Accelerator program has a goal of helping and educating employers to be more inclusive at their workplace. So again, we believe that if we're able to teach one person or teach a group of people, then they'll kind of go out and do the same, and there'll be like that domino effect of being able to reach more people than just us trying to do it by ourselves. So again, the fact that many of you here who have joined us definitely is obviously a good thing, because again, we're trying to promote that change, and it starts with us here, and to be able to kind of push it out into our communities and society. Okay, so some of our services that we do offer, so for some of you are quite familiar with it, so we do policy review and optimizations. So definitely we're trying to make sure that your business runs efficiently, again, with the idea of trying to be more inclusive with that. We do support in hiring support, so whether that might be, interviews, interview questions that you can ask where you can be more inclusive, or job postings as well. Make sure that the wording is correct, so that again, it includes everybody to be able to apply. We also do coaching employers, again, so that's our main focus, to be able to coach the head of the business or company, or whoever's in positions of authority. So again, that they're able to again teach those within their space, and for them as well to kind of go out and do the same as well. Last but not least, we do community engagement, and as well as connecting with resources. So we do have a few clients where whereas they it's a lot. Okay, so being a manager or a leader, there's a lot of things that you kind of go through that you have to worry about on a day-to-day basis. So essentially what the EI program wants to do is kind to alleviate that stress, and again build that bridge with for you. Okay, so we kind of want to do that heavy lifting for you, so you can worry about kind of other things. So providing those resources on, let's say if you have a daycare and you have children with disabilities, they might have autism. So maybe even providing some workshops for some of your employees on that. So again, just trying to better educate and again support you in any way that we possibly can. Next, person first language. So essentially, a lot of us growing up is we were told to, think before we speak, right? Some of us might be good at it, some of us might not be so good at it. But again, this applies, wherever you go. You want to think before you speak. So especially when dealing with a person with a disability, you want to make sure that you put the person first in thought and in word. So again, you want to think before you say something, and you want to make sure that the way that you want to articulate yourself or the way that you want to be understood is how you say it. So again, make sure that you're using the right wording, that you're not being offensive, and it's okay to be curious, right? You can be curious on how to ask a question or say certain things, but again, you want to make sure that you want to be curious but also respectful. So again, think before you speak. The next point is talk about a person's disability only if it is necessary. So again, someone's disability is not dinner conversation or casual conversation. So again, just that point of make sure that you're just being respectful, pretty much, and respectful to the individual if they're in your presence, and as well to even when the individual is not there, it's a good practice to make sure that you are being respectful in front and away, so that other people can have that same view as well. And last but not least, just ask the person, how can I refer to you? How do you like this? Do you like when I say that? Or like, everybody's different. Everyone is unique. There are many different disabilities. So again, just ask questions, right? You don't know what you don't know. So again, just be respectful, ask the question, and I'm sure the individual would be more than happy to let you know what is acceptable to them or what's not acceptable. Okay. Now, so we're going to jump into leading versus managing. What is the difference? Okay. So essentially what I want to do is I want to extract the differences between these two, because there is a big difference. So the definition for managing is the coordination and administration of tasks to achieve a goal, versus leading, which is the ability of an individual to influence, motivate, and enable others to contribute to the organization's success. So for the leading definition, there's a few words that I kind of want to pull out or extract from that. And those key words are, one, influence, and the second, to motivate. So in order to be an influence to someone, one, you have to recognize that that person is an individual, right? So in a company, there are many different people with different backgrounds, different experiences, different interests, right? Different abilities. Excuse me, different abilities. So you always want to make sure again, that if you're trying to lead someone effectively, you got to make sure that that they're not just a number, but they are a person, right? How can you influence, or the next word, motivate? How can you motivate someone when you don't know them, right? If you don't view them as a person or an individual, then it'd be hard to find different triggers in order to motivate them, or to kind of get them going in order to achieve the business's goal, right? So you can kind of see with managing, and again with leading, that the overall goal, there's an overall goal that needs to be achieved, but the way that it's done is different between managing and leading, right? So you always want to make sure that again, that those who are under us, or in terms of a leadership role, or those that we're trying to instruct, again, that they are people, they have value, and we want to make sure that we articulate that to them, that they know that. Okay. So again, right here, the key difference is approach matters, right? So the way that you do something, the way that you come off, the way that it's said or done, it's almost like night and day, right? Two different things, right? So you got to make sure, again, that the people that you're trying to lead, that you let them know that, again, that they're valued, they're people, they have their differences, but again, they are people, right? So managers count value, while leaders create that value. So if you're a leader and you're able to create that value, it only promotes the bigger picture, right? It promotes the individual, and when they kind of leave out of that space where they're at, they kind of do that same promotion wherever they are, right? So that same promotion at home, right? They're creating that value with their their partner, their children, their spouse, their family. If they go out, into, even on the street or in stores or whatever the case is, wherever they go, they're also carrying that value with them, and then again displaying it or trying to promote it towards others as well too. So it's really a huge effect that just starts with one person, right? Starts with us to be able to affect that change. So a few examples that we have here. So I'll kind of go over the difference here. So we have one side, we have managing, and then the other side, we have leading. So you're managing, so head of the team, versus leading, you are part of the team, right? So again, it's one from just, giving that person the instruction, as opposed to, again, being, kind of helping, trying to be a part of what that person is trying to do, right? Head of team versus part of the team. Managing, someone who instructs; leading, someone who inspires, right? So again, it's hard to inspire someone or be an influence to someone or motivate someone if you don't view them as an individual or a person, right? So again, those are the two differences. Next, we have authority for managing versus an ally, right? So if you're an ally is someone that you can rely on, someone that you can come to, someone that you can be dependent on. And that kind of builds, I believe that kind of builds that trust, that foundation, or that bridge for that relationship between, management and employees, or whatever the case is. If you believe that someone is an ally and they are on your side, and you're able to talk to them and they respect what you're saying, they give you that, they make you feel valued, then it's a huge difference than when dealing with someone who just is an authoritative figure and just kind of instructs you, and there's no relationship there. So again, you want to kind of build that relationship so that, again, you're able to achieve that overall goal of the business. Last but not least, we have what I think versus what do you think. So again, it's about creating that value, right? So managers, who are not, inclusive or diverse, will just, let you know, this is my opinion, this is how it goes, this is what I think, and then that's that, right? What I say goes, as opposed to a leader is someone, again, who will inspire by, again, creating that value in their employees and those that they work with, right? Asking them questions. Okay, well, what do you think? What is it, that I possibly may not be seeing, right? Give me another perspective, give me another a viewpoint, right? So again, it's a lot about creating that value within the individuals surrounding you. So again, so that everyone's on the same page, they feel valued, they feel heard, seen, and again, creating that value for them. Okay, so now what we're going to do is touch on diversity and inclusion. So we just did a little bit of, what the difference between leadership, leading and managing, but now we're going to kind of touch on, okay, well, now we know what the difference is. How can we now add on diversity and inclusion so that we are an inclusive leader, right? We can promote that in our workplace. So one big thing that I wanted to mention, that in that title, the "and" is very imperative. It's very important because you cannot have one without the other, right? So diversity, it's not diversity or inclusion, it's diversity and inclusion. They kind of go hand in hand. You can't have one without the other, right? So here for diversity, we have what makes you unique, right? So again, we need to understand that these people where they're individuals, right? People with different interests, different social statuses, racial, cultural backgrounds, different interests. So these people are different. You need to understand the uniqueness of the people. And as well, you have to be intentional with the efforts to make people feel valued, right? Making their interests feel valued, their opinions feel valued that differ from you, right? So again, you want to make sure that, again, you recognize that what makes people unique, and as well as being intentional on making sure that their uniqueness, what's different about them, is not wrong, but you value it. Okay. Next, we have bringing different people together and strategies that make diversity work, right? So again, we have different people, recognizing that we have different people around us, and again, bringing those people together so that it is diverse, but making sure that we create different strategies, effective strategies, to make sure that we're able to kind of have that diversity and have that inclusion. I think the big word really that kind of comes to mind for myself is being intentional, right? Making sure that you make it a point to be doing these tips or these strategies, right? Making sure that you're being conscious of these things, which again can be hard, but again, it's all about that effort, right? Trying to take that first step towards it, so that it can become a habit. Okay. Last but not least, we have dependent on inclusion and diversity dependent on inclusion, and as well, inclusion is vital for diversity to work. So again, like I said, mentioned, they go hand in hand with each other. So you can't have one or the other. It's diversity and inclusion in order to have that in our workplace, or really in any environment that we find ourselves in. Okay. So next we have a quick video here. Let's turn the volume up. There we go.
Each day we have a chance to connect with other people. And when we do, we assign an identity to each person we meet. We put people in groups that help us define the world around us, or the world we think is around us. Some groups are helpful to us. Others we think deserve respect. Some we deem average. Some are to be avoided. Some are wise, inexperienced. There are those we idolize and those we ignore. Groups that separate us from them.
Today I'm going to ask you some general questions. They may seem funny, random, serious, or deeply personal. Please be brave. Answer honestly. Who in this room is the life of the party? Who is adopted?
But what happens when we make connections and groups begin to dissolve? There are those who believe in life after death. Those who are immigrants, the lonely, those who love fast food, those who love science fiction movies, those who have been bullied, and we who have bullied others. The lucky ones who are madly in love. Those who have lost a child. Those who have overcome addiction. And those who acknowledge the courage of others. Those who have found peace. And others who have saved lives. And then there's everyone who experiences this together. Maybe there's more that connects us than we think. Because in the end, there is only us.
Wow. I feel like every time that I watch that video, it does something for me. I don't know if it's the music they got playing in the background, but just seeing the different individuals and the uniqueness, the different backgrounds, you can see the different experiences that each of them have had and gone through or might be going through. And so you can kind of see how diversity and inclusion is so huge, because you don't know exactly what you could be missing out on because you don't have that in your workplace. You don't promote that, right? You could be dismissing someone who could be of really high value, but because you are not inclusive in that space, you could be missing out on someone definitely who can be impactful to the business, or even just to yourself, right? So again, I can't stress it enough to make sure that we try to be intentional with that. Okay, so for the next slide, we have "It starts with you." So I think I mentioned this in the beginning of the presentation, but be the change that you want to see, right? Let that change start with you, as a leader, as a manager, as whatever role that you hold, even if we step outside of that, as a as maybe a father, husband, son, whatever the case is, whatever role that you might have in society, let that change start with you, right? So how can we do that? What are some tips or questions that we kind of ask ourselves, right? So the first one, am I being intentional? There's that word, right? Am I being intentional of being an ambassador of diversity and inclusion, right? Am I promoting it? Am I, again, make sure that it's at the forefront of, let's say, what every meeting that we might have? Am I making sure that I'm letting my those around me know, hey, like, again, this is our goal, this is what we want to achieve, making sure that it's a point. Am I being an ambassador? Am I being intentional about diversity and inclusion? That's the first question you can ask. Second, am I accepting being vulnerable and show it? So now this one I think is a pretty big one, being vulnerable. So I find that people, some people might think that they might know everything, and again, that's it's definitely not the case, right? Not everybody knows everything, but again, that vulnerable aspect or that vulnerable piece is making sure those around you know that, hey, I don't know everything. But I'm willing to, again, be curious, to ask questions, and open to feedback and different perspectives, right? So again, being vulnerable opens up that door or that gate for people to kind of share, their perspectives, their ideas, what they think, right? And again, that kind of builds that strong relationship, with your team and with those around you, right? So again, am I being vulnerable? Am I letting those around me know that, hey, I don't know everything, but I'm curious enough or to ask? So that's I think that's a very good question that you can kind of ask yourself on a daily basis. Am I aware of my own biases and challenge that their habitual patterns? So self-awareness, I think, is a huge thing. Being able to recognize, yourself, recognize your own thinking patterns, the way you view things, being accepting of your experiences and the things that you have experiencing, and are you allowing, those certain isolated incidents to determine how you view, this or that or the world, right? So again, trying to be self-aware, and sometimes it does take a little bit of work. It does take practice. But again, if we refer back to the previous question of being vulnerable, maybe it's possible that someone in that vulnerability, someone could point out, hey, like, I kind of see this or that or whatever. So if you're able to be open, transparent, and vulnerable, then it's possible that if you don't see, your own biases, it's possible that someone else can kind of point that out for you. Moving on, next we have, do they understand and adapt to various cultural norms, right? So again, it's that uniqueness aspect, that diversity, knowing that, again, we're dealing with people. So as even with that video that we just watched, again, you saw they called out someone that might have, unfortunately lost a loved one or a child, someone that, was able to get over addiction. So they had different snares and aspects, and then you could see that whenever they came forward, that everybody looked different, right? Everyone looked different, but might have had similar issues. But again, just making sure, just trying to be curious, right? So people have different backgrounds, different interests, cultural backgrounds. Be curious, right? What are some of the norms or practices? What might be offensive in their culture? What might not be offensive? What's accepting and what's not accepting? Again, having that respectful curiosity, again, promotes that inclusion, promotes that diversity, and in turn, I believe everybody wins, right? My dad would always say that you can never ask too many questions, and you know, education is not, it's never too much, right, to know things, right? So again, have that respectful curiosity to better yourself and those around you. Last question. Are they team players, eager to help and do what's best for the team? So this even kind of goes back to that managing versus leadership aspect, right? So again, is my leader, my team lead, my supervisor, or whomever it is, are they a team player, right? Do they feel like an ally, or just an authority figure that just tells me what to do and get this done, and then that's that, right? Do I have that relationship with them to be able to bring ideas forth to them? Do they, you know, make me feel valued, heard, seen, right? So again, being that team player to let them know that I'm on your side. I'm not just not against, but I'm on the field, or I'm on the court with you, if I'm able to kind of put it into a sports reference, right? A sports reference, right? So I'm not coaching you from the sideline, but I'm in the game with you, right? I'm there for you to pass the ball, the puck, whatever it is. I'm there with you in it, right? Okay, so now we're just gonna slightly touch on unconscious bias. So a lot of these unconscious biases are formed obviously based on our experiences, right? Experiences, how we brought up, the people who we've interacted with. So an unconscious bias is a stereotype individuals hold about certain groups of people that, that they aren't consciously aware of having, right? So that can be you know, various races, ethnic groups here, gender identities, sexual orientations, physical abilities. So these are some things that we have formed without knowing, based on, you know, sometimes our experiences. Maybe our parents might have had certain perspectives or ideas that kind of, you know, we've heard them have certain conversations and kind of, you know, skewed our view unconsciously, so or subconsciously, one of those two, one of those two. But yeah, so again, those are some of the things that you know, we want to try to kind of be aware of, because it is kind of out there, right? So again, so that trying to have that self awareness of some of the habits we might have, just kind of based on, you know, our experiences and the things that we kind of come into contact with. Okay, so examples of that. So we have the infinity bias. So again, preferring a certain group that you have similar interests with. Let's say, you know, for myself, like athlete, if you're an athlete or you like to play sports, or you like a certain sport, like again, you know, kind of forming that group with other people who kind of play sports and preferring them over the others. We have the, you know, the gender bias, to prefer one gender over the other. And as well, we have the conformity bias. So that's the tendency to kind of based on the group that you're in, to think the same way, even if that's not how you view it, right? So it's almost like a peer pressure sort of situation, because there's a big group of people that think a certain way, then you kind of conform to that way of thinking as well too, right? Even if you don't believe it in the moment, or maybe your perspective kind of changes over time just based on the environment. Okay. The next one, it matters. So I'm just gonna kind of spew out a couple of different stats here. So this is essentially, again, the potential, the power that inclusion and diversity can have in the workplace, if it is present, but also as well to being that, you know, that inclusive leader, or that, you know, that pioneer trying to promote that in the workplace. So we have here 26% more applications seen by employers that posted about diversity. So again, like when you make it known, employers see like at a 26%, excuse me, 26% more applications seen. 22% are more likely are seen as industry leading companies with high caliber talent. So again, when you kind of open up that that talent pool and make sure that you're being diverse and inclusive, again, you don't know by not being inclusive, it's possible that you can miss out a really great talent or group of individuals that can really kind of promote your business to go far, right? So again, we want to make sure that we are inclusive and being diverse. We have 12% are more likely to be seen as inclusive for people of diverse backgrounds. So again, it matters, right? So trying to be inclusive, trying to be diverse, it matters. We have 76% of employees and job seekers said that diversity was important when considering a job. So again, with the change of society and our culture, it is becoming a thing where we're really trying to recognize the uniqueness and the individuality of people. So again, when employers are able to make that known, they definitely see a huge boost in that. And, people are really making it known that, hey, like, I want to make sure that wherever I go, I'm valued, I'm heard, I'm seen, and that's important to you. That's important to the employer. Okay, next one, 60% of employees want to hear the business speak about diverse issues. So again, they want to make sure that they know that you care, right? They want to make sure that that they're not just hiring you just to hire. You're not just a number to them, but that you see as an individual. And there's an issue, they're able to kind of go to you. And the last one is 80% of survey respondents want to work for a company that values DEI issues. Okay, so again, it's very out there that the way that society is moving is we want to make sure that we promote this. It matters to people. People want to make sure again that they feel valued and included. So make sure that we have that inclusion in the workplace does go a long way. Okay. So sorry. Tips for inclusive leadership. So these are some of the things that we can actually do just to kind of make sure that we kind of stay on track and kind of put that one foot in front of the other in this matter. So first thing that you can do is attend inclusive leadership training. Again, this kind of promotes the self-awareness. So learn your triggers, your biases, and how to kind of overcome those things. Again, getting an outside perspective, right? Sometimes it's hard to see how we are based on our views, and it takes someone else from the outside looking in and who kind of observe us on the daily or whatever the case is, that to show us, okay, these are some of the things that I noticed. So again, that's one thing that we can do. Next, we can find a mentor, someone that we can talk to that has more experience than us. I think that one's pretty, kind of self-explanatory. Trying to get again different perspective, a different viewpoint. And last one's pretty simple, but I think very effective. Just ask for feedback, right? So use those one-on-one meetings to discuss, how inclusive am I? Am I doing a good job? Am I valuing what you're saying? Was there an incident about that, you know, that you didn't like or that happened that might have had a negative impact. So again, just being curious, being open, and just trying to build those relationships so we can have these conversations, right? So it's hard to have these conversations when there is no transparency and there is no relationship built, right? So again, if we're able to be honest and build those relationships, create that value in our people and those around us, then it makes it easier to have these conversations, and again to kind of grow together, because that's what we're essentially we are trying to do. Let's have one more video for us here.
The world is evolving rapidly, yet we're not embracing inclusion at the same pace.
We're all different, and our differences can generate various points of view and contribute to creativity and innovation.
That's why at DuPont, we believe in embracing diverse talent, valuing each member of our team, and providing inclusive leadership. We can utilize our differences to better achieve our goals and objectives. We've made a lot of progress, yet we strive to go even further.
There are still people working in environments where they feel as though they don't belong. We cannot all contribute ideas if women only hold 20% of seats in the boardrooms of top companies globally. Unconscious bias in the workplace is just that, unconscious. It occurs before we realize and negatively shapes our assessments of people, especially when it comes to decisions such as hiring, promoting and developing talent.
Research shows that diverse, inclusive teams are not only more innovative, they're also more engaged and creative. 35% of diverse teams outperform less diverse teams, while diverse companies are 70% more likely to capture new markets. Due to its subtlety, unconscious bias leads to unintentional exclusion. But you have the ability to influence change right now.
Open yourself up to new ways of doing things, to lead inclusively, and, for example,
Mentor someone who's different from you.
give an assignment to someone other than your normal go-to person.
When promoting, think about who's made contributions that you've overlooked.
Ask the shy or introverted employee for input during a meeting.
Get to know someone different from you by asking them to lunch.
Speak up when you hear an inappropriate or disrespectful comment said in your presence.
Don't assume the answer. Ask questions to understand points of view that are different than yours.
Monitor yourself and observe when your bias is getting in the way.
So commit to being consciously inclusive. Respect differences. Be accountable and embrace possibilities. Imagine the impact you can have.
One person,
One gesture,
one moment at a time.
Awesome. Good. And with that, that brings us to the end of our presentation on inclusive leadership. So again, I just want to thank everyone for coming and being a part definitely of this. Again, it does take a collaborative effort, a partnership, and you know, as long as we're able to kind of join together, then we can definitely make a difference. So again, thank you for coming. Were there any questions, comments that people might have had? You can, I guess, tap it in the chat now, or.
Yeah, I was just going to say, feel free to tap that in the chat or unmute yourself if you feel comfortable. And if there are no questions, that is completely fine. And if there's questions at a later date, you can definitely email us. See some comments rolling in. The same great presentation, Kanish. That's awesome.
Perfect. Okay. Well, guess again, thank you for coming out. So here's some of our contact information here. So you have any questions, you can email us at eia@goodwill.ab.ca. And We do have our next presentation, which will be on Thursday, August the 17th. And the topic for that's going to be from awareness to action, understanding and supporting visible and non-visible disabilities in the workplace. And so we have our Instagram, our Twitter, and our Facebook. But again, thank you so much, and I hope you have yourself a great day.
Awesome. Thank you, everyone.